Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Agriculture, SOA. Diploma Postgraduate Diploma Programs. Diploma in Value Added Products from Fruits and Vegetables, DVAPFV. BPVI 001 Food Fundamentals. Block-1 Introduction to Food Science and Technology. Unit-1 Introduction to Food Science. 1.0 Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to know constituents of food and properties. Explain chemistry of food and nutrition. Describe food spoilage and its effect, and discuss recent advances in food science and food evaluation. 1.1 Introduction Definition of food. Foods are materials, which in their naturally occurring, processed or cooked forms, are consumed by human beings for their nourishment, sustenance and enjoyment. Moreover, food items are food grains, cereals, wheat, rice, coarse cereals like sorghum, millets etc., legumes, pulses, red gram, black gram, green gram, beans, horticultural produce, fruits, vegetables, spices, condiments etc., livestock produce, meat, egg, milk etc., and fish, prawns, crabs etc. Beverages like tea, coffee, cocoa etc. are also part of food. Food sources in their natural form are cultivated, reared, captured or cultured. Some foods can be taken in raw form while most need some kind of processing to introduce desirable characteristics in them to make them acceptable, edible and digestible. Food, as is known, is the essence of life. It is an exciting subject to study and know its importance and values. In earlier days, humans started experimenting on various forms and tastes. This led to the development of culinary art. Later on, some people who developed special interest became expert and earned name and fame. Much later it became a huge industry with a trade value of $2 trillion. Food science and food technology can be defined as food science. Food science is the discipline in which the biological and physical sciences and engineering are used to study the nature of foods, causes of their deterioration and the principles underlying food processing. Food technology, it is the application of food science to the selection, preservation, processing, packaging, distribution and use of safe, nutritious and wholesome food. 1.2 Constituents of food, properties and their significance. There are two important properties of food: nutritional value and taste. Hedonic value. The former is relatively easier to quantify since important nutrients are limited in number and their effects are more or less defined. Defining the taste is more difficult because it must take into account all those properties of food including visual appeal, smell, taste and texture, which interact with our senses. These properties are influenced by a large number of compounds, which in part have not been identified. Besides their nutritional and hedonic values, foods are increasingly being judged according to properties, which determine their handling. 1st February 2001 Physical properties of foods. In broad sense, the physical properties of foods may be defined as those properties that lend themselves to description and quantification by physical rather than chemical means. A. Geometrical properties. These encompass the properties of size, shape, volume, density and surface area as selected to homogeneous units. The geometrical characteristics of texture refer to structural geometry and structurally heterogeneous foodstuffs. Size and shape. The shapes of fruits and vegetables have been classified into 13 categories such as round, oblate, oblong, conic, elliptical, truncated, ribbed etc. The much prevailing method for quantitative shape description involves sphericity, which is sphericity is equal to DDC, where D is the diameter of a shape of same as the test object and DC is its diameter of smallest circumscribing sphere, usually the longest diameter of the test object. Size is usually characterized by determining the opening, as in sieve or screen, through which the product will or will not pass, and measurement of diameter or length of product. Volume, density and surface area. Volume and density measurement of liquid foods present no special problem, other than the proper control of temperature at which measurements are made. Standard volumetric methods, graduated cylinder, for volume quantification, and pycnometer or commercial density meters for density measurement are simple. Volume of agricultural products, especially those exhibiting an irregular shape, is usually determined by water displacement. Density of solids can be determined by flotation in liquids, usually salt solutions, of different densities. Density of certain agricultural produce, peas, lima beans, potatoes, is an indirect measure of their texture also. Separation by density in flotation is also used with many agricultural commodities to remove defective materials and extraneous matter. Density is measured and defined in various ways like true density, substance density, particle density, apparent density and bulk density. Surface area values have a meaning in heat transfer. A number of methods have been developed for calculating the surface area of products such as fruits etc. based on shape factor measurement, e.g. areas of axial or longitudinal cross sections. B. Optical properties. The most important optical properties from the quality point are color and surface appearance, gloss, of the produce. These works on reflected light along with some spectrophotometer, measuring light in both reflectance and transmittance modes. Transmitted light may be used for detecting defects such as water course in apple. Color, it is one of the most important attributes and can separate a high quality produce, such as the golden yellow of a table orange, or can alert the consumer to a potential psychological danger, such as green processed meat. It also influences flavor requirements in produce such as beverages and dessert gels, and it affects consumer perceptions. Spectrophotometric method for color description is based on three demarcations: reflectance, lightness, dominant wavelength and purity. In this Hunter color lab equipment, color scales L, A and B are used. L defines the lightness, A, the red-green lines, and B, the blue-yellow lines. Gloss, the appearance of a surface, whether it is glossy or dull, is an important physical aspect of food quality detected by human vision. Typical of products where a shiny surface is valued as apples, cucumbers, cherries. On the other hand, oranges, green beans etc. have dull surface. Gloss in the psychological attribute of surfaces associated with the spectrum reflects and can vary from surface to surface. 1st February 2002 Rheological properties. The complex nature of foods, their variability and their diverse behavior are some of the reasons for cataloging separately the flow behavior of specific foods. The evaluation of rheological properties of solid foods can be divided into two broad classes. Fundamental tests measure properties that are inherent to the material and independent on the geometry of sample, the condition of loading, or the apparatus, e.g. modulus of elasticity, Poisson ratio, relaxation time, and shear modulus. Empirical or imitator tests are used to determine properties such as puncture force and extrusion energy, where the mass of the sample, geometry, speed of test etc. also determine the parameter estimated. The fundamental tests as applied to solid foods may again be classified into two essentially different groups: those divided under conditions of static, quasi-static loading, and those considered under dynamic conditions. Because foods are viscoelastic, both time-dependent and time-independent measurements are required. Foods that flow under gravity and do not retain their shape are considered to be fluid foods. Foods may exist as solids at one temperature and as liquid at other temperature, like ice creams. Suspension of solid matter is fluid media, or emulsions, because of wide varieties of their structure and composition. Foods exhibit flow behavior ranging from simple Newtonian to time-dependent non-Newtonian and viscoelastic. For example, raw whole egg at 21°C was found to be a Newtonian fluid. However, frozen egg was found to be a shear thinning fluid. 1.2. 3. Thermal properties. Thermal properties are required to understand heat transfer during heating or cooling, which foods are often subjected. Variability in composition and physical characteristics is typical for all food products. The major thermal properties are specific heat, enthalpy, thermal conductivity, thermal diffusivity and heat transfer coefficient. These are much commonly used properties in designing a system for heating cooling of foods. These are several other properties that are thermal in value but are much less important to most heat transfer applications: melting freezing point, latent heat, heat of respiration, heat of adsorption, coefficient of thermal expansion, dielectric constant, emissivity and absorptivity, radiation heat transfer. 1st February 2004. Mass transfer properties. Mass transfer plays a very important role in basic unit operations of food processing. It is also involved in several physical, chemical and biological food processes such as salting, sugaring, oxygen absorption, deaeration, and cleaning of process equipment. It is important in food processing and storage, where transfer of moisture, vapors, gases and flavors components may influence food quality. 1st February 2005. Electrical properties. These properties determine the amount of energy coupled by a food product, its distribution within the product. Electrical properties are of most basic interest in high-frequency food processing and their dielectric properties, because these determine a number of related electrical properties, which affect energy coupling and its distribution within a food product. Biological material acts as heavy insulators, i.e., non-ideal capacitors, in terms of their ability to store and dissipate electrical energy from an applied electromagnetic field by radiation transfer. These properties result from electric charging and less current generally related to materials' electrical capacitance and resistance, and are defined by fundamental dielectric properties. 1.3. Food chemistry, moisture, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals. Nutrients are naturally occurring chemical substances found in food. There are 6 categories of nutrients: proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and water. The chemistry of these nutrients influences the characteristics of our food. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates in food provide the energy our bodies need to function. 1st March 2001. Moisture. Every food material contains moisture. It is found in 2 forms, i.e., free water and bound water. It is one of the most important attributes of the food material that affects processing, preservation and storage of foods. 50 to 60% of human body weight consists of water. The fruits and vegetables contain 90% to 99%, fruit juices 80% to 89%, pasta, legumes, beef, and dairy 10% to 60%, and crackers and cereals contain 1% to 9% water. 1st March 2002. Carbohydrates. The carbohydrates in diet come from plant foods. Simple carbohydrates include the different forms of sugar, monosaccharides and disaccharides. Complex carbohydrates, polysaccharides, include starches and dietary fiber. Specifically, they are composed of carbon and water and have a composition of CN, H2O, N. No single carbohydrate is essential, but carbohydrates do participate in many required functions in the body. Carbohydrates may be divided into following categories. Monosaccharides, it may have 6 carbons, called hexoses, or 5 carbons, called pentoses. Glucose, dextrose, fructose, and galactose are 3 common hexoses. Ribose and deoxyribose are 2 common pentoses. Disaccharides, 2 monosaccharides may be linked together to form a disaccharide. Sucrose, sugar, is the most common disaccharide and is made of 1 molecule each of glucose and fructose. Lactose is the major sugar in milk and is made up of 1 molecule of glucose and 1 of galactose. Maltose is a disaccharide made from 2 molecules of glucose. Polysaccharides, combination of more than 2 sugars, is referred to as oligosaccharides, unless they are very large, and then they are called polysaccharides. Raffinose and starchiose are 2 oligosaccharides. Nutritionally, polysaccharides are added to increase the dietary fiber content, and functionally to thicken, form gel, bind water and stabilize proteins. Starch, cellulose, gums are main polysaccharides. 1st March 2003 Proteins. Amino acids are building blocks of protein. Dietary protein is supplied from plant and animal sources. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. The shape and thus the function of a protein is determined by the sequence of its amino acids. Proteins must be broken down, hydrolyzed, to amino acids before they can be used. Once absorbed, amino acids are utilized to make proteins, converted to energy, or stored as fat. About 20% of the human body is made of protein. Amino acids contain an amino group, NH2, and an acid group, DHQ. There are 20 amino acids that are found in proteins. Amino acids join by forming peptide bonds. The conformation of a protein molecule in the native state is determined by the primary structure, the secondary structure, a tertiary structure. Primary, the primary structure is the combination of amino acids in a proper sequence by means of the peptide bonds. No other forces or bonds are implied by this structural level designation. Secondary, secondary structure is that which forms a pleated or helix structure. The alpha helix is stabilized by hydrogen bonding between carboxyl and the amide groups of the peptide bonds that generally appear in a regular sequence along the chain of amino acids. Tertiary, a tertiary structure is the folding of the coiled chain or chains. Covalent, hydrogen, and van der Waals forces may be involved in the structural organization of protein molecules. 1st March 2004 Lipids. Lipids include fats and oils from plants and animals. Lipids are the substances in foods that are soluble in organic solvents. This category includes fatty acids, triglycerides, phospholipids, pigments, vitamins, and cholesterol. Naturally occurring fatty acids have an even number of carbons. Reaction. Products of long-chain fatty acids are very important to the flavor of foods. Fatty acids may be saturated or unsaturated, contain double bonds. A fatty acid that contains one double bond is called monounsaturated, and with 2 or more double bonds is called polyunsaturated. Unsaturated fatty acids can exist in 2 forms, cis and trans, depending upon the arrangement of the portions of the fatty acid molecules around the double bonds. The double bonds in lipid molecules are highly reactive toward oxygen. Triglycerides, food fats, are made up of 3 molecules of fatty acids connected to a molecule of glycerol and are known as triglycerides. The vast majority of foods contain fat in the form of triglycerides. Triglycerides are broken apart by lipases enzymes produces soapy flavor products. Triglycerides molecule that has had one fatty acid removed is called a diglyceride. Two fatty acids removed is called a monoglyceride. Phospholipids. Some fatty acids are connected to glycerol molecules that contain a molecule of phosphorus. These special lipids are known as phospholipids, e.g. lecithin. They play important roles in the body but are not essential nutrients because the body can synthesize them in adequate quantities. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is a compound produced by the body that has received considerable attention due to its reported link to heart disease. Some people have a genetic problem with the system that regulates cholesterol synthesis, and they produce excessive amounts. These people generally have greatly elevated serum cholesterol levels. This is of concern because high serum cholesterol is a risk factor for coronary heart disease. 1st March 2005. Vitamins. Vitamins are chemical compounds in our food that are needed in very small amounts, in milligrams and micrograms, which regulate the chemical reactions in our body. The vitamins are divided into fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins include vitamins A, D, E, and K. The water-soluble vitamins include the B vitamins and vitamin C. B vitamins include thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6 pantothenic acid, folic acid, biotin, and cobalamin, vitamin B12. 1st March 2006. Minerals. Minerals, which are also needed only in small amounts, have many different functions. Some minerals assist in the body's chemical reactions and others help form body structures. Minerals are important for energy transfer and as an integral part of vitamins, hormones, and amino acids. Depending on the amount in the body, minerals in the diet are classified as macrominerals or microminerals, sometimes called trace minerals, as listed below. Macrominerals: calcium chloride, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, sulfur, sodium. Microminerals important in nutrition include chromium, molybdenum, iodine, cobalt, silicon, nickel, copper, tin, selenium, fluorine, vanadium, zinc, manganese, fluorine. 1st March 2007. Phytochemicals. Phytochemicals exhibit diversified physiologic and pharmacologic effects. Active derivatives extracted from leaves, stems, roots, flowers, and fruits of plants may be classified into three main categories. 1. Toxic with no discernible therapeutic use, e.g. pyrrolizidine alkaloids, nicotine, and hydrazine derivatives. 2. Toxic but useful for treatment of disease when used in controlled amounts, e.g. morphine, digitalis, and vinca alkaloids. 3. Chemopreventative, useful against diseases, e.g. arteriosclerosis, cancer, and diverticular disease. Most active chemopreventative phytochemicals are high molecular weight fibers such as celluloids, pectins, lignins, and low molecular weight compounds such as carotenoids, dithiolphins, flavonoids, indole carbinols, isothiocyanates, mono and tritopenoids, and thiollyl derivatives. 1.4 Nutrition and digestion. 1st April 2001. Nutrient needs. The requirement for a nutrient is that the minimum intake will maintain normal functions of the body and health. The main nutrients required by human beings are water, carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins and minerals. These are the source of energy. The nutrient needs of human beings are described below. A. Water. Water is essential. About 65% of the adult body is made up of water. Lack of water can cause death more quickly than lack of any other nutrient. All the chemical reactions that occur in the body take place in water. Water also reacts during the chemical processes, regulates body temperature, transports nutrients and wastes, and dissolves nutrients. An adult should drink 3 to 5 liters of water each day. B. Carbohydrates. Dietary carbohydrates include sugars, complex carbohydrates, starch and fiber. During digestion, all carbohydrates except fiber break down into sugars. Sugars and starches occur naturally in many foods that also supply other nutrients. Examples of these foods include milk, fruits, some vegetables, breads, cereals, and grains. C. Fiber. Fiber is found only in plant foods like whole grain breads and cereals, beans and peas, fruits and vegetables. Eating a variety of fiber-containing plant foods is important for proper bowel function. Some of the health benefits associated with a high-fiber diet may come from other components present in these foods, not just from fiber itself. For this reason, fiber is best obtained from foods rather than supplements. D. Protein. The nitrogen in protein is used for the synthesis of purines, pyrimidines, nucleic acids, adenosine triphosphate, ATP, hemoglobin, and cytochromes.
Depending on age and gender, humans require different levels of protein in their diet. Humans need the amino acids that the body cannot synthesize. These are known as essential amino acids. They include phenylalanine methionine, tryptophan valine, histidine leucine, isoleucine threonine, lysine arginine. A. Lipids. In food, lipids are a source of essential fatty acids, gives that energy, act as carriers for flavors and fat-soluble vitamins, contributes to texture and mouthfeel, is a precursor of flavor, and provides heat transfer medium. The body can produce most of the fatty acids that it requires. It cannot make some fatty acids that contain double bonds. From linoleic acid, 18-carbon fatty acid with 2 double bonds, humans can synthesize all the other fatty acids they require. Thus, linoleic acid is considered as an essential nutrient. F. Vitamins. Table 1.1 lists the fat and water-soluble vitamins and their functions. Table 1.1 Functions of some vitamin. Fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A. Growth and development of bone and epithelial cells, vision. Vitamin D. Absorption of dietary calcium and phosphorus. Vitamin E. Antioxidant in tissues. Vitamin K. Aids in blood clotting. Water-soluble vitamins. Thiamine. Coenzyme in energy metabolism. Riboflavin. Coenzyme in many enzyme systems. Niacin. Coenzyme for cell respiration, release of energy from fat. Carbohydrates and proteins. Vitamin C. Metabolism of amino acids, fats, lipids, folic acid, and cholesterol control, collagen formation. Vitamin B12. Coenzyme for red blood cell maintenance and nerve tissue. Carbohydrate, fat, and protein metabolism. G. Minerals. Table 1.2 lists some of the macrominerals and microminerals and their functions. Table 1.2 Functions of some minerals. Calcium, bone mineral, blood clotting, nerve, muscle, and gland. Function. Phosphorus, bone mineral, part of many proteins involved in metabolism. Iron, part of hemoglobin and some enzymes. Oxygen. Transport. Copper, iron absorption, hemoglobin synthesis, skin pigments. Collagen metabolism. Magnesium, bone mineral, enzyme activator, energy metabolism. Sodium, potassium, chloride, tissue fluid pressure and acid-base balance, passage of nutrients and water into cells, nerve and muscle function. Zinc, activator of many enzymes. Iodine, thyroid function. Manganese, synthesis of bone and cartilage components. Cholesterol metabolism. Selenium, removal of peroxides from tissues, enzyme activation. 1st April 2002 Digestive process. The processing of food takes place in 4 stages. A. Ingestion, the act of eating. This is the first of the 4 main stages of food processing. B. Digestion. Digestion breaks down food into molecules small enough to be absorbed. It breaks polymers into monomers that are easier to absorb and that can be used to synthesize new polymers required by the organism. C. Absorption. Cells that line the digestive tract take up the nutrients. Nutrients are transported to the cells where they are incorporated into the cells and converted to energy that may be used immediately or stored until needed. D. Elimination. In the last stage of food processing is elimination, in which undigested wastes pass out of the digestive tract. 1st April 2003 Components of the human digestive system. The following structures are considered parts of digestive system. Mouth, gallbladder. Tongue, pancreas. Pharynx, small intestine. Salivary glands, large intestine. Esophagus, rectum. Stomach, anus. Liver. 1st April 2004 Stability of nutrients. The nutritive value of food starts with the genetics of the plants or animals. Fertilization, weather, maturity and harvest also influence the composition of the plant or animal being used for food. Storage before processing affects nutrient levels. Then all of the processing steps continue to affect the nutrient levels in a food. Finally, preparation in the home or at the restaurant can reduce the final nutritive value of a food before the digestive process. Vitamin A is highly sensitive to acid, air, light and heat. Vitamin C, D and thiamine to alkalinity, air, light and heat. Because of this sensitiveness, cooking losses of some essential nutrients may be in excess of 75%. A primary goal of food science is to preserve the nutrients through all phases of food harvesting, processing, storage, and preparation. Stability of nutrients under varying conditions of pH, air, light, heat, and cold is different. Nutrient losses are small in most modern food processing operations, but when nutrient losses are unavoidably high, the law allows enrichment. 1.5 Food spoilage and its effects. All foods have a time limit of their usefulness that depends on the type of food, the storage conditions, and other factors. Shelf life is the time required for a food product to reach an acceptable quality. It depends on the food item, the processing method, packaging, and storage conditions. Food spoilage includes changes in organoleptic quality, nutritional value, food safety, aesthetic appeal, color, texture, and flavor. To some degree, all cause negative changes in the food as much as possible. 1st May 2001 Types of food deterioration. The 3 general categories of food deterioration are physical, chemical, and biological. Factors that cause food deterioration are many, including light, cold, heat, oxygen, moisture, dryness, other types of radiation, enzymes, microorganisms, time, industrial contaminants, and macroorganisms, insects, mice, etc. 1st May 2002 Causes of food deterioration. Specific causes of food deterioration include number of factors as described below. These items can cause deterioration individually or in any combination. Bacteria, yeast, mold. Thousands of species of microorganisms exist, and few hundred are associated with foods. Not all are bad because some are desirable in food preservation. Bacteria are single-celled organisms occurring in three shapes: round, coxy, rod, bacilli, and spiral, spirilla and vibrissae. Some produce spores, and these spores are resistant to heat, chemicals, and other adverse conditions. Yeasts are the largest of the microorganisms but are still single cells, and some produce spores. Molds are larger than bacteria. They are often filamentous, and they all produce spores. In foods, microorganisms attack all the food components: sugars, starches, cellulose, fats, and proteins. Depending on the food and the microorganism, the action on food could be to produce acids, making the food sour, or produce alcohol. Some microorganisms produce gas, making the food filmy. Still others produce unwanted pigments or toxins. Environmental conditions that affect microbial growth include temperature and oxygen. Microbes that prefer cold temperatures are said to be phystophilic. Mesophilic microorganisms prefer normal temperatures. Thermophilic microorganisms prefer hot temperatures. Bacteria or molds that require atmospheric oxygen are said to be aerobic, and those yeast and bacteria that do not require atmospheric oxygen are called anaerobic. Facultative microorganisms are both aerobic and anaerobic, obligative. Microorganisms are either insects. Insect damage can be minor, but the wounds facilitate additional damage by microorganisms. Insect damage and infestation can also be so much that it can make the food inedible. Food enzymes. All foods from living tissues have enzymes. At the time of harvest or slaughter, enzymes that control digestion and respiration proceed uncontrolled and cause tissue damage. Some of the post-harvest enzymatic reactions are desirable, for example, the ripening of tomatoes and the aging or tenderizing of beef. Heat, chemicals, and radiation can control enzyme action. Heat and cold: the higher the temperature, the faster the biochemical reactions. In fact, the rate of chemical reactions doubles with each 10-degree rise in temperature. On the other hand, sub-freezing temperatures damage tissues. Cold temperatures may also cause discoloration, change the texture, break an emulsion, and denature protein. Chilling can injure the tissue of fruits. Oxygen, chemical oxidation reactions can destroy vitamins, especially A and C, alter food colors, cause off flavors, and promote the growth of molds. 1st May 2003 Foodborne disease. Food infections are caused when a microorganism is present in the food and it causes infections in the human when the food is consumed. Clostridium perfringens, Salmonella sp. Escherichia coli and several others can cause infections. Food intoxication occurs when a food is consumed that contains chemical toxins which poison the humans. Staphylococcus aureus and Clostridium botulinum both produce toxins. Microbes associated with disease, Disease-causing organisms that are associated with foods are very important from both the human health perspective and from economical perspective. The diseases that are caused by microbes associated with food are grouped into three categories: infections, intoxications, and toxico-infections. Foodborne intoxications. Intoxications are the result of the ingestion of a toxin that is produced by a microbe living on the food product. The toxins that are produced by these organisms usually have a long half-life. Even if the microorganism have died, the toxin remains. Intoxications also differ from infections in that the symptoms usually occur within hours after ingestion, instead of the days that are normally associated with foodborne infections. Toxin-producing strains of Staphylococcus aureus are responsible for staphylococcal food poisoning. It can be found in nasal passages, skin, and throats of human. Most of these toxins are stable, even under heating conditions. The infective dose for the toxin is between 100 to 200 nanograms. Mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are toxins that are produced by molds that have the ability to grow on food products. Different species of Aspergillus and penicillium can produce mycotoxins. Depending on the type of food and the conditions, the mold may be present or absent, even if the mycotoxins remains. Foods associated with mycotoxins include grains, such as corn, wheat, beans, rice, and groundnut. If moisture is introduced, molds can grow and form mycotoxins. These toxins are then transferred into the food product that is made from the initial material. 1.6 Recent trends in food processing and preservation. New food products and safe foods require new food processing methods and systems. In recent trends, firms exercising control over several stages of food production may increasingly dominate the food industry. This refers to the way products are acquired or traded in a market. Food industry firms form three basic types of vertical coordination. Open production. A firm purchases a commodity from a producer at a market price determined at the time of purchase. Contract production. A firm commits to purchase a commodity from a producer at a price formula established in advance of the purchase. The contract farming comes in this group. Vertical integration. A single firm controls the flow of a commodity across two or more stages of food production. The food industry has traditionally operated in an open production system. However, more discriminating consumers, plus new technological developments that allow farm product differentiation, are contributing to a decrease in open production and vertical integration. Changing demographics and the increasing value of a person's time contributed to consumer preferences for a wide variety of safe, nutritious, and convenient food products. Providing food products with specific characteristics preferred by more discriminating consumers will likely involve increasingly more detailed raw commodity products, such as frying chicken of a specific weight and size, or a corn kernel with a specific protein content. This effort to carefully tailor raw commodities with processing in mind is already underway in food industries. 1.7 New products and equipment. The kind of food consumed is changing continuously and contributing to the competition and marketing. Over 10,000 products are introduced each year in food processing sector. The initial focus of research was to reduce post-harvest losses through improved drying and storage technologies. Later, research led to advances in processing techniques for food and feed. Latest research is being carried out to bring about improvement in safety and quality. New industrial applications evolved, such as new forms of heat processing, low energy production, pasteurization, semi-finished production techniques, filtration, extraction, centrifugation, chilling and freezing. Now, computers are being used to develop sophisticated monitoring systems. For instance, scientists have developed computer sensors that continually measure plants' vital signals such as tissue temperature and swelling and regulate the irrigation and atmospheric gas concentrations accordingly. Packaging technologies like vacuum packaging of milk have also improved. Better grain storage techniques and post-harvest management allow developing countries with humid tropical climates to compete in the world grain markets with virtually insect-free exports from temperate zones. Recent developments in biotechnology are fostering more concentrated seed production, vertical integration of production and processing, and the need for segregated handling system to preserve the identity of distinct products. New processes are continuously being tried in unit operations. New processes which are coming up now are ohmic heating, irradiation, supercritical fluid extraction, and high hydrostatic pressure technologies. The success of freezing technology has opened a new field for food processors. Complete meals are being prepared now which are frozen until the consumer is ready to thaw and heat them. Many of these meals are sold in serving dishes. Other frozen foods, which are now coming up, are pot pies, fish sticks, desserts, and potatoes. Additives, food composition standards, and labeling are also leading to the development of new products and machineries. 1.8 Food evaluation. Variety, season, geographical differences, harvesting, handling, processing, packaging, storage, display, home preparation, cooking, and serving influence. Nutrient content of foods. The food composition is determined by a variety of scientifically sound, standardized methods. The first system of approximating the value of food for nutritional purposes was developed at the Wien experiment station in Germany more than 100 years ago. This system separates a food into nutritive fractions. This system was known as proximate analysis. Various methods are developed to evaluate protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamins and mineral, and fiber in the food. Some of the methods are standards developed by the government organizations for quality analysis. Number of equipment and processes are also available for proximate analysis of food destructively or non-destructively. New methods of determining the composition of foods have replaced or supplemented the old proximate analysis and allow determination of more specific nutrients in foods. These include spectrophotometry, liquid chromatography, and gas chromatography, which allow the determination of fatty acids, cholesterol, amino acids, specific minerals, and vitamins. Food composition tables are used to evaluate the nutritional value of food supplies, to develop food distribution programs, to plan and evaluate food consumption surveys, to provide nutritional counseling, and to estimate the nutritional content of individual diets. The parameters that are evaluated for food evaluation are description of food and measure, moisture, food energy in joules, protein, fat, different fatty acids, saturated, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids and cholesterol, and carbohydrate in grams, vitamins and mineral in milligrams and IU. 1.9 Summary. Food is essentially required for human being for energy. Nutrition is the processes by which the foods people eat provide the nutrients they need to grow and stay healthy. There are 6 categories of nutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, vitamins, minerals and water. The chemistry of these nutrients influences the characteristics of the food. Food deterioration includes changes in organoleptic quality, nutritive value, food safety, aesthetic appeal, color, texture and flavor. To some extent, all food undergoes deterioration after harvest. Deterioration may be physical, chemical or biological. Some deterioration produces toxins that are not destroyed by heat. Some of toxins produced by microorganisms can cause infections in humans. The kind of foods people eat change in response to many influences such as demographic shifts, supply of ingredients, availability and costs of energy, politics, scientific advances in nutrition, health and food safety. New processing methods and approaches are coming up in food science. The digestive process includes ingestion, digestion, absorption and elimination. Nutrients in the diet are progressively broken into smaller components by mechanical, chemical, and enzymatic means. Small molecules resulting from digestion are absorbed to supply the body with energy, protein, vitamins and minerals. Food composition tables are used to evaluate the nutritional value of food supplies, to develop food distribution programs, to plan and evaluate food consumption surveys, to provide nutrition counseling and to estimate the nutritional content of individual diets. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.